police officers and 2 civilians are dead after a first gun battle between security forces and suspected bandits in Kebbi State. At least 17 suspected bandits were also reported neutralized in the confrontation, according to the Kebbi State Police Command. The scale of the casualties on both sides make this one the most serious recent clashes involving security personnel in the state, and it raises fresh concerns about the movement of heavily armed criminal groups across the northwestern region. The confrontation happened on Monday morning at about 9:25 a.m. along the Rafin-Makuku axis of Sakaba local government area. According to the police, security personnel intercepted suspected bandits who were moving between Zamfara and Kebbi State. What followed was a prolonged exchange of gunfire, with security operatives engaging the armed group in a battle that eventually left both sides with significant casualties. The Kebbi State Police Command said at least 17 suspected bandits were neutralized during the encounter. 4 motorcycles reportedly belonging to the attackers were also burnt. However, the police were careful to point out the exact casualty figure on the side of the bandits remained subject to the further verification. This means the figure of 17 should be understood as a number currently assessed by security authorities, rather than a final confirmed body count. The police spokesperson, Bashir Usman, confirmed the death of 10 police personnel. 2 other officers were wounded during the confrontation and are currently receiving medical attention. Usman described the fallen officers as brave personnel who fought with courage and professionalism while defending the people of Kebbi State. The deaths have triggered mourning within the Nigerian police force. According to the force police relations officer, Annie Inedu, Inspector General of Police Olatunji Disu, described the loss of the 10 officers as a painful blow to both the police and the nation. The IGP said the officers paid the ultimate price while carrying out their responsibility to protect the people they had sworn to serve. But the human cost of the confrontation did not stop with the security forces. 2 civilians were also killed during the encounter, adding another tragic dimension to an operation that was intended to stop an armed group moving through the area. Their deaths underline the danger faced by ordinary residents living in communities where armed clashes can suddenly erupt between security forces and criminal groups. The circumstances surrounding the deaths of the 2 civilians have not been fully detailed in the information released by the police. That is one area that will require further clarification as the authorities complete their assessment of the incident. In any major security operation, establishing how civilians became caught up in the violence is critical, particularly when communities are already vulnerable to bandit attacks, kidnappings, and other forms of criminality. The location of the confrontation is also significant. Sakaba local government area is in Kebbi State, close to areas affected by insecurity across the wider northwestern region. Criminal groups operating in this part of Nigeria have often exploited difficult terrain and state boundaries to move between locations, making it challenging for individual state security command to contain them. The reported movement of the suspected bandits between Zamfara and Kebbi State highlights that challenge. Criminal networks do not necessarily operate according to state boundaries. A group can cross from one state into another, forcing security agencies to coordinate intelligence, surveillance, and ground operation across jurisdictions. That is why the latest confrontation should not be viewed simply as an isolated gun battle. It is also a reminder of the broader security challenge facing northwestern Nigeria. For years, communities across the region have endured attacks by armed groups, kidnappings for ransom, attacks on villages, and disruption of economic activities. The response from the security agencies will therefore be closely watched. The police said the immediate priority is to care for the wounded, support the families of the fallen officers, and continue operations against members of the bandit group who escaped from the encounter. The remains of the fallen police officers have reportedly been conveyed to Kebbi, while additional security personnel have been deployed to reinforce the affected areas. The authority say the area has been brought under control and that operations are continuing to pursue fleeing members of the criminal group. There is also an important question about what happens after the gun battle. Neutralizing suspected bandits can weaken an armed group, but long-term security requires sustained operations, intelligence gathering, and the ability to prevent surviving members from regrouping. If fleeing attackers manage to reorganize elsewhere, the immediate success of the operation could eventually be followed by another attack. For the families of the 10 police officers, however, the numbers tell only the part of the story. Behind the official casualty figure are 10 individuals who left home to perform a dangerous job and never returned. Their families are now dealing with the consequences of a violent confrontation that occurred while the officers were carrying out their duties. 2 civilians who lost their lives also deserve equal attention. Security operations are ultimately intended to protect communities, and when civilians become casualties, authorities must establish exactly what happened and ensure that affected families receive appropriate support. The Kebbi State Police Command has promised that further information will be released as facts are verified. That qualification is important because the situation remains under assessment, particularly regarding the number of bandits killed and the circumstances surrounding the civilian casualties. What happened in Sakaba is therefore both a tactical security victory and a painful reminder of the price being paid in Nigeria's fight against banditry. 17 suspected bandits have reportedly been neutralized, but 10 police officers and 2 civilians have also lost their lives. The challenge now is to ensure that the sacrifice of those who died produces lasting security, rather than another temporary victory in an endless cycle of violence. I'm Chimezrim Okoro, and I will see you soon.